Welcome back to BST, everybody. I hope everybody is having a wonderful night wherever you live. It's probably night where you live if you're watching this, I'd assume. But if it's not, if it's good morning, good morning. If it's good night, good night. It's relatively late here, but I just wanted to quickly cover the NFL games that happened on this Saturday evening. Please like and subscribe and comment. Always love to see some comments. And just recently, one of my good buddies encouraged us to make a TikTok and a Twitter/X. He helped in the creation of that, so go check those out. Those should be linked in the description of this video or our channel description, I believe so. Go check those things out. We'll be dropping shorts on this channel, TikToks, just of some of our clips from our videos, so if you want to consume our content that way, go ahead. On Twitter, we'll have announcements, things like that when videos are out. Or just hit the notification bell on the YouTube channel. Either way, thank you so much for interacting with our content. At the end of the day, this is just going to be just a fun podcast to talk about sports. So if that's your thing, come along. So the first game today was the Baltimore Ravens at home against the Cleveland Browns. And I'm not going to lie, I didn't watch a lick of this game, really. I was in the garage messing around with stuff half the time. This game was on. It just really never piqued my interest. Pretty much from the moment I saw Baltimore was nearly a 20-point favorite, I was like, all right, this game ain't going to be close. Cleveland doesn't really have a quarterback. Not that they have had a quarterback all year. But I figured the Ravens would steamroll them, and they did. They won 35-10. But it wasn't a stereotypical, or not really stereotypical, but a usual day from Lamar. Most of the time we see him doing pretty spectacular things, and he had a good game today, but not a great game. But it was mostly the Derrick Henry show. 20 carries, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns. So he caps off a great season that is really overshadowed by Saquon Barkley's historic season. But, I mean, Derrick Henry has been great all season. Definitely the second best running back in football, in my opinion. The Browns never really stood a chance. I will say with the Browns, Jerry Jeudy has been pretty spectacular this season. I can't remember exactly where he is in yards, but it's just like, wow. If you would ask me if he would be top 5 in yards this season, I would have laughed at you. And I think he is, at least right now. Baltimore clinches the division with this win. And we'll get into Pittsburgh and the Bengals later in the episode. But, it was just a game Baltimore handled. I mean, there's not really much to say about it. I would say the biggest point of interest is a negative one, and that is the injury of Zay Flowers, the Baltimore receiver. That's a big injury. I mean, that's one of Lamar's biggest weapons, and that could have been why he struggled. I'm not exactly sure when Zay went out, but I think it's a knee sprain, and he's week to week. So that would be interesting going into a wild card matchup, versus probably the Chargers, I think it is. But that should be an interesting thing to keep a look at. Because without Zay, they're pretty depleted at wide receiver. They don't really have a big playmaker at that position. So I think if he's fine, I think this offense can hum. Obviously, they put up 35 today. But I think against some of these better teams, they're going to have to be pretty well stacked up with no injuries to kind of keep up, I feel like, especially with their defense not being as good as it was. But I've said it to my friends, to my family. I'm like, you know, I got to see Lamar do it before I'm going to crown him, you know. Like, obviously, he could win the MVP this year. I'd give it to Josh Allen just because of the voter fatigue, but he has had an incredible season, much better than his MVP season last year, which is insane. But it just comes down to the big games for me. Okay, you got to do it in the big games, and so far this season he has not done that. Or not this season, even just his career, he has not done that. So nothing to take away from him. He's a great player. I like watching him play. One of the craziest quarterbacks, athletes I've ever seen. But that's what it's going to come down for me. I got to see him do it in the playoffs before I crown him or believe in him in the playoffs. I got to see it happen, and it hasn't happened yet. Before we move on, I would just like to talk about the big man interception. I mean, that is just so fun. I love when that happens. I remember when I was pretty young, that happened in the Packers game, and that was just like, from that moment on, I'm like, man, that is so awesome. And then you see the reaction of the sideline, the coaches, the other players. It's just like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Like the big guy, especially this guy, I'm not sure how often he gets on the field, but like, it's probably not very often. They had all the backups in, and he gets his moment, and he does not fail on it. I've seen countless linebackers drop easy picks like that, but nope. That ball really had nowhere to go, though. I mean, that's a unit out there. Michael Pierce, I think it is, or I know his last name's Pierce. Number 58 on the Ravens. Big nose tackle guy. Crazy. But yeah, that's one of those just the real cool things about the NFL. Those things, and it's just like it just hypes up the crowd. You saw the crowd was going crazy. That's just things you love to see, you know. So, yeah, I just want to touch on that. Shout out to Michael Pierce, I think it is. To see that is just so awesome, and just gets a crowd going, gets the sideline going. You just love to see it. It's just one of those plays in football that just makes you happy. But probably about time to move on from this boring game to a much better game. Cincinnati beating Pittsburgh 19-17 to keep their playoff hopes alive. Obviously, with Baltimore winning, Pittsburgh is now a wild card team. Losing the division that they had a pretty good grasp on just a few weeks ago. I thought, you know, they went from pretty confirmed contenders to now it's kind of like, can this offense keep up? And their defense, I mean, they played good today, but still there were times they looked pretty shaky on defense. But yeah, it's just a matter of this offense. They had a lot of drops today from Pickens, especially, which is disappointing. But, I mean, it's just, I don't know. They definitely seem to be missing something. I can't really put my finger on it. But if it was my bracket that I'm filling out, I'm probably not picking Pittsburgh to get past the wild card, except if they play the Texans, which could happen. I'd probably pick them over the Texans just because I think the Texans are playing worse football right now. I'm not exactly sure what the playoff picture looks like there. In fact, let's check that out real quick because I'm kind of interested on what the playoff picture looks like. Let's see here. Okay, let's take a look. So right now, Pittsburgh go right back to Baltimore. I don't know about that. If Los Angeles wins, which I believe who are they playing? I think they're playing the Raiders, so they should win that one. They would go to Houston. Yeah, you know, I don't know. But for the Bengals, this is a big win. I mean, it keeps your season alive. They've won 5 in a row now. Yeah, 5 in a row. So, they're pretty dangerous, I would say. I don't think Kansas City wants to help out the Bengals by beating Denver. I don't think the Bills want to see the Bengals in the playoffs and have to face them in the first round. I mean, with the way Joe Burrow's playing, like tonight he didn't play great, but I mean, I would not want to have any part with any of these with the Bengals right now if I'm any of these teams. Just I would not even want anything to do with them. So, I'm cheering for it because I always want the best quarterback play in the playoffs, and it's hard to get any better than Joe Burrow right now. But it was a little bit concerning that the Bengals really couldn't put this game away because I felt like they had it pretty early on, pretty in control. But the Steelers came back, made it a game, but just couldn't get it done in the end. But, Denver's in the driver's seat. All they got to do is win against KC's backups. And then you got Miami, who is second in the pecking order. They need Denver to lose. They need to win. And Cincinnati needs Denver to lose and Miami to lose or tie to make it in. So it's one of those things. It's like it's probably not going to happen. But, if I'm going to cheer for something, it's going to be that. Because, having Allen-Burrow matchup in the first round, can't get better than that. And then, you just want the top 4 guys in the AFC to all be in it, all be in the race. Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, and Burrow. You just want to see it because that's what cool football is. And then you got Herbert too. And that's why for the Steelers, it's like, man, I'm picking Russ last out of every single one of those guys. And even from second to last, it's a pretty big margin. So for the Steelers, it's kind of like, man, I don't know. I think Russ is good, but there's an obvious difference between these guys. So I think that's kind of where the Steelers' problems come from. But yeah, good win for the Bengals. Steelers, I don't know. Felt like they had a lot of momentum earlier on in the year, but now it feels like it's kind of sputtered a bit after they've played some of these contenders. And I'm not sure what happens. It kind of feels like Mike Tomlin gets his winning record and he's like, okay, I can take it easy now. Of course, that's not what happens, but it's just kind of what it feels like sometimes. But it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. It's a relatively big Sunday for a lot of things. I know if any of you guys live in a betting state, I would put some cash on some of those players who have incentives because, I know the teams want to try to get them that. I know they want to try to get that. So if I was going to bet, which, of course, in Idaho you can't bet, but if I was going to, that's what I would do. I've seen plenty of people do it. So if that's something that you can do in your state, I would definitely take advantage of that. But yeah, Bengals win 19-17. And a close one came down to the last drive by the Steelers. Couldn't get it done. Kind of story of this second half-ish of the season, Just kind of can't get it done on offense. But we'll see. Should be a fun Sunday. We'll come out with another video on Sunday. I'll probably upload a short and a TikTok tonight from something of this video. I'm just trying to get some exposure out to the podcast, and my buddy will help kind of manage all that. But yeah, check it all out. We really appreciate any engagement, really. This is just a fun little thing that we're doing. So anything that comes along with it is great. And we don't ask anything of you. Do whatever you want. Like, subscribe, whatever. Comment if you feel like it. We do not care what you do. This is just a casual place where me and my dad can just say what's on our minds about sports. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe out. Oh my god, I can't speak. Stay safe out there. And we hope you have a good night, a good football Sunday tomorrow, and we'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.